Hello, welcome to Recapping with Delora
and Ashley.
Please follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter at Recapping Podcast.
Also, comment, rate, and subscribe on your favorite podcast platform. We're on all the things.
We would love to hear your ratings of the movies and shows we review.
Email us your audio file to recappingpodcast@gmail.com and we will play it during the show.
Or DM us on Instagram and we will post and read it on air.
Thank you guys so much for listening.
Thank you.
Hey, Delora.
Hey, Ashley.
It's a new week, guys. Happy Tuesday. It is time for another recap. This one is Miss Marvel, Disney Plus.
Yay!
Showing more love to Marvel because y'all know we love us some Marvel on this pod. Even though we're not super fans, we don't know all the deets and all the spoilers and all the history of every character.
The Easter eggs. Yeah.
We still love these shows and movies. So this one we wanted to dive into previous hidden gem for me, 6-hour longish episodes available on Disney Plus, features Marvel's first Muslim superhero, Kamala Khan. Super excited to talk about it with you guys. Let me give you a quick summary. Kamala Khan, a Muslim American teen, is a superhero mega fan who discovers she has superpowers. Series was created by Bisha K. Ali, who also was involved in Loki. There were 4 directors on this, one of them being an Oscar winner, which is super impressive. The cast for this series: Iman Vellani as Kamala Khan. I love me some Iman. I've watched so many interviews with her now.
She's so fun.
Was a Marvel and superhero super fan, a Miss Marvel super fan. So it's like perfect role, perfect casting. God is good. Okay.
I was gonna say, did she have to act for that?
Seriously. We also have Matt Lintz as Bruno. We have Zenobia Shroff as Muniba Khan, Kamala's mom. Mohan Kapoor is Yusuf Khan, Kamala's father. We have Sagar Sheikh as Amir Khan, Kamala's brother. We have Yasmin Fletcher as Nakia, possibly one of my favorite characters. We have Reese Shaw as Kamran. We have Nimra Buka as Najma. We have Samina Ahmed as Sana. We have Mawish Hayat as Aisha. We have Aramis Knight as Kareem, and we have Laurel Marsden as Zoe. I know the cast is pretty expansive. I was just hitting our top tier cast members, guys. Make sure you go out and look.
Great job saying everyone's names.
I do my best.
Panicked.
I do my best. But go out and check out the full cast because they did a great job. Reviews, Rotten Tomatoes, 98% critic score, which I'm hearing is the best rated Marvel series
yet. Yep.
80% audience score. Google was not feeling it quite as much with 68%. So Delora, give us your grade for Miss Marvel.
All right, Miss Marvel. I really enjoyed this series. Very vibrant. I love just exploring the story. I'm not as familiar with Miss Marvel as I am with Captain Marvel, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I love a good throwback, and the story was well told. So I gave this series a B+. How about you?
We're on the exact same page. This series gets a B+ from me as well. As I mentioned previously, I loved the visual storytelling aspect of this because it really nods to the comics to me and to the artistry of graphic design and really incorporating that. I really enjoyed, like I said, the lead actress, Iman, like love her. And the strong inclusion of the Pakistani culture and Muslim religion was so beautiful to see in mainstream media. We talked about that a bit with Bridgerton season 2 with the inclusion of Indian culture. And I just feel like they took this even a step further for me because we delve into history.
Yeah, I was not familiar with the
The
partition.
partition, me
Yeah.
either. So it was.
I knew there was a divide, but I didn't know there was a name. There was an event.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
I mean, we knew a lot about, obviously, a lot of countries having to declare their independence, but
Yes.
in this sense, there was a lot historically that I just had never deep dived into whatsoever in terms of
Same.
how India went about that transition and how they, sought to divide them by religion and all of that.
Yeah.
So it was great to just have that, because again, then it helps for people to have a better understanding. So, spoiler alert, let's get into the series itself. Kamala, a Captain Marvel superfan and owner content creator for Sloth Baby Productions via YouTube, is your typical modern day teenager living in Jersey. She's got her family, she's got her besties, Bruno and Nakia, and unfortunately, she has no driving skills. In episode 1, Kamala and Bruno are focused on attending the first annual Avenger Con, where she plans to enter a cosplay contest as, of course, Captain Marvel. Her mother's reaction to her asking to go was hilarious. She said, "So you want to go to a party at night? Is this a joke?" I loved and lived for her mother in this series. Delora, were you excited by the idea of AvengerCon, especially given the fact that we're in this world where these characters actually exist?
I'm surprised it's the first annual. Like, why hasn't this happened before? But who knows? This must have been. Oh, I don't know where this is in the terms of the timeline. Obviously, it's after the snap. Maybe, I don't know. We know Ant-Man exists in this universe. Well, everyone.
We know that it's after the snap and after Thanos is gone, because strictly I say that because at AvengerCon you had the thing up saying thank you for your sacrifice to Black Widow and to Iron Man.
Yeah. But that's about it really in terms of gauging where we are looking at the events of what has happened since. We have Thor, we have so many things, right? Moon Knight. Anyway, it seemed like it would be a lot of fun. Yeah. I thought it was absolutely embarrassing that her parents wanted her to dress up as the Hulk. Like, let this girl live.
So I wanted to ask you that, because obviously it took some convincing by her brother, but her parents do agree that Kamala can go as long as her father goes with her for 2 hours and they dress in the matching Hulk costumes her mother made. So my question was, do you think the offer was fair?
Oh, I mean, they are her parents and I know they're extremely strict, right? But I think they could have let her choose. I mean, obviously this is premeditated, so she obviously has an idea of what she wants to dress up as. Let the girl live.
She's 16. There's so many other things she could be getting into. AvengerCon is the least of their worries, right? And exactly. I know that we're saying that as people who are into this and know more about this than probably her parents do and all of that. So I get it. To get her mother crack me up with her response. But she's 16 and this is so innocent and so, like for us going to Comic-Con. It would just be something that the super fandom of it all. And, I think that they should have given her just a little bit more latitude myself, but I understood their point. So Kamala hatches a plan to sneak out of the house thanks to Bruno's tech skills, essentially creating an Alexa called Zuzu, which was interesting. To customize her Captain Marvel suit for the cosplay competition, Kamala adds a bracelet her grandmother sent over from Pakistan. Once Kamala puts on the bangle, and I'm sorry, I'm going to keep saying between Kamala and Kamala because Kamala Harris is stuck in my head, so I apologize. Kamala
MVP?
Puts on the bangle, powers are unleashed that, due to her lack of control, nearly takes out one of her classmates at AvengerCon. What were your thoughts when you caught the first glimpse of Kamala's abilities?
My initial reaction to it was, oh my goodness, I'm not familiar with what her powers are in general. Like, I did not take the time to look it up. I was going into the series cold, you know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Mm-hmm.
And so I was like, oh, well, she needs this device for her power. Like, it's always interesting to find our superheroes, especially young ones, seeing what their powers are, exploring them, and things along those lines. And so I'm not gonna lie, I was like, so is she gonna have big fists? Is this inspired by the Hulk? Like, what's driving this, you know? But I thought the illumination and animation of it all was really cool.
In the grand scheme of powers across the Marvel board, I was not impressed when she first whipped out
I agree.
these abilities. I was like, so she basically has light that forms into solid material. You know what I mean? Like, I think we have been so spoiled
We have
by
the Scarlet Witch. Like,
so many, a plethora of amazing abilities out
Thor
there.
is an entire god, and she has sparkles.
Light. It was not the sexiest. It was not the most exciting. But for her, I think it got to be like you felt excited just because she was this teenager who was so obsessed and had such fandom, and is like, oh shit, what is happening? Like, imagine all of a sudden having any level of supernatural ability.
It's kind of like, getting slightly deep here, everyone has a gift, right?
Yeah.
And it's important that we use our gift one way or another. Whether, you know, it may appear that some people may have better powers than you, is how you utilize them now. You know, Thor was off not using any of his powers or his hammer.
I have not seen Thor Love and Thunder just yet. So I'm just saying that in the sense that, I'm saying that in the sense that, like, I'm excited to see what Lazy Thor is doing. Like, what is he?
He ain't that lazy anymore, though, based off some of those previews. But what I will say is, you use what you have, you start where you are, you get going. And that's what she did.
Well said. So she's busted for sneaking out when she gets home, much to her mother's disappointment. This scene between Kamala and her mother, where she's asking her if she wants to live a good life or get swept up away, like, into fantasies and fantastical, her imagination, all this stuff. I know I reference Sister Act 2 a lot, but it reminded me of Lauryn Hill and her mom, played by D. Cheryl Lee Ralph from Sister Act 2.
Be somebody.
Your father died still singing his shoulda, coulda, wouldas. Like, it always amazes me to see the scenes where trauma, because this stems from her own trauma that she has with her mother,
yes.
And how that manifests onto and projects onto her child. Like,
yes.
Just because you don't understand something doesn't make it wrong. And in this case, she had no understanding.
Or insignificant, right?
Or
it's not big to you, but it's everything to her.
Everything. Love Sister Act 2, guys. In episode 2, Kamala has swag now, okay? Rolling through the halls of school. And she has a new crush, Kamran. Zoe, the classmate she saved, is eating up the attention online and IRL because she now has 1 million followers. But unfortunately, she dubbed our girl Nightlight, which is a pretty bad superhero name.
Awful. And then there was also Hardlight, which was hilarious to me.
They were all not cutting it in the superhero game. Bruno helps Kamala with training to get a handle on her powers and discovers that the bangle is not actually the source of her powers. It unlocked them from inside of her, essentially. Now we have Kamran, super hot little senior, and we also have Bruno, bestie. Did you feel a love triangle brewing between them and Kamala.
Oh, absolutely. But I will say this, I did not trust the cutie. I was like, red flag. He's new from out of town. You just got your powers. He's now willing to, not to say that Kamala couldn't bag him. I'm just saying, what's the likelihood of this guy giving you driving lessons if there was no ulterior motive somewhere?
In a high-end vehicle. We were
Girl.
on the exact same page, because when I tell you I have in my notes, I thought Kamran was a villain. This is too easy. He came out of nowhere. He has a nice smile and an even nicer car.
British
He's trying to get too close, too quick.
Too fast. Yes. And edging out the BFF too, very quickly.
And Bruno, the fact that Bruno was considering passing up an early immersion program at Caltech.
Children, never do that, sir. And can we talk about Disney and the use of Bruno? Is it having a resurgence? Luca, Encanto, now this. I've never heard the name Bruno this often in my life.
In this case, blame the comic book creators. But to your point, Bruno is definitely out here in these streets. You know, you're going to see more babies being named Bruno in the coming years, thanks to Disney, for sure. But we're on the same page with our initial thoughts. I couldn't say that I felt one way or another, because at this point, for one, this is teenagers. I don't invest that heavy in y'all love stories anymore. I'm too old for all that. So I'm not heavy one way or another.
This is no Twilight.
No, but we passed that age.
I'm not gonna lie.
I was feeling salty for Bruno a little bit.
Yes. But sir needed to speak up, but that's a lesson learned as an adult. But
then Cameron, I said Cameron. Oh my God, he's a rapper now. Cameron. Cameron, he had the swag and the cultural touchstones and relatability.
Yes.
That I
like. Bruno was trying to learn, right? So
he's integrated into the fam, but you will never be of the culture, right?
Very much so.
We can't talk about our Amis and their love for different cultural icons, you know what I mean? So that it's hard.
I really appreciated the Eternals reference with the Kingo Senior and Junior. And I was like, wait, who are these people? Because again, this was a education for me. I mean, the last time I watched a show that was this immersive in a culture that I had no real understanding of was Rami, which is the FX, also on Hulu show. Now, he is insane, and that show is insanity, but it really shows him, you know, as a tortured millennial trying to find their footing and their faith, you know, in the process, and him and his practice with Islam. But season 2 of Rami is the best because you have Mahershala Ali in it. So
see, I didn't make it past like 2 or 3 episodes.
I don't blame you. It's a lot. It's
good to know that it would take a turn.
But it was my first time really understanding that when they go to mosque, you have to come clean. So you wash your hands, you wash your mouth, you wash your feet. And we get that in the show as well. I appreciated that because it helped reinforce some of the things I learned. And then, you know, I think it's interesting their take on how women are in their culture too. I was surprised they decided to step in that territory. But you know,
it's progressive. It's Disney, it's Marvel, and they had multiple female, you know, creatives behind the scenes, the creator, the directors, all of those folks, producers. So I definitely appreciated it as well. So after seeing a vision at dinner, thanks to the bangle and passing out, Kamala calls her grandmother to learn more about it because this bangle was sent from her grandmother in Pakistan. It actually belonged to her great grandmother, Aisha, who disappeared during the partition in India in 1947, and per her mother, brought shame on the family. Ba ba ba, the plot thickens. On a side note, and to your point about them delving into the waters of, the way that men and women are treated in the Muslim religion, Kamala's other bestie, Nakia, is making a bold move for their mosque's board, because usually it's a completely male dominated hierarchy, right? And leadership. Love the breakdown of the various mosque cliques at the uh at the Eid al-Adha festivals. I hope I pronounced that correctly. Her pitch to Kamala's dad was epic. I'm basically your other daughter. Are you going to deny? She even chuckled. Are you going to deny young women this opportunity? Like, it was brilliant.
Yes.
Why though do you think Kamala was keeping Nakia in the dark at this point about her powers, given how close they are?
I just feel like sometimes in relationships, and then, again, as I mentioned before, the exploration of a young hero, a lot of changes happening in their lives, both in real life and in their superpower world. You want to keep something to yourself. And maybe she felt like she wanted to do that. And she decided to tell Bruno because he was there when it happened, right? So,
and they share that like passion
and yes, enthusiasm for the superheroes. But I was surprised that she didn't tell her friend right away, because I was like, is it a duo? Is it a trio? I think it's a trio. Like,
It's
in
supposed
terms
to be.
of their friendship. So yeah, really surprised she decided not to tell her.
I wondered if she thought that she was gonna be like judgmental or something like that. Because I was like, I mean, it seems like y'all have such a strong relationship. Y'all have y'all little handshake, which was so cute. You encouraged her to, get on, try to go for the mosque board. Like, I couldn't put my finger on it for a while there either. She's gonna kind of get to her thoughts later, but I wasn't sure either, because it did seem like out of the norm, given especially how much teenagers run their mouth. That was one of my biggest gripes about the first Spider-Man that Tom did. I was like, you are getting on my nerves with how much you're running your mouth. A little discretion, sir. You are Spider-Man, okay? Meanwhile, an apparent government agency, DODC, or the Department of Damage Control, is searching for Kamala after the AvengerCon incident. They interviewed Zoe, which, given her age, was likely highly illegal. After kind of successfully saving a kid from falling to his death at the Eid al-Adha festival I mentioned earlier, Kamala's chased by DODC agents and rescued by Kamran and his mother, who had been appearing in Kamala's visions. In episode 3, we dive into the past, British occupied India in 1942, to learn more about Aisha, the Bengal, and her quote unquote friends, aka the clandestines, or Jinn people, as we find out that they're considered to be. They've been looking for the Bengal in hopes of returning to their home, a different dimension that they were exiled from. This group includes Kamran's mother, Najma. Putting on the Bengal is what alerted the group to Kamala, who all have Noor, as you mentioned earlier, Delora, or the light inside of them that they can't fully access here. It also slows down their aging. So one thing I was wondering after this revelation is, would Kamala's aging now slow down as well? And would you want to be stuck at 16 for a while?
Definitely not at 16, 21 for sure, right?
Yeah. 21 or 25. Let's hit those milestones.
Absolutely. But when we had the flashback and we meet Kamala's great grandmother, and then we're, back present, I'm like, wait, they look the same. I literally put that in my notes. I'm like, who are these people? And then I was like, they genies? What? And so it was really funny. But I made this my hidden gem a while back. storied. PBS has a YouTube channel, and they have this series that go over lore and monsters in literature, and they have an episode on genies, and apparently they only show up in Arabic literature and as well as the Quran. So apparently the Quran has three spiritual entities. We have angels, demons, and genies. And genies can they are a part of a different dimension than humans, but they can come in human form and procreate. They can live forever, but they also can die. So I say all that to say, when we were watching this film and everything like that, I was like, so there are these magical beings, but they're dying because, i.e., her great grandmother isn't here anymore. So, but again, they stayed the same age, obviously, all these years too.
Yeah,
so.
I think one thing they allude to too is obviously they're not at their full capability in our dimension as they would be in theirs. So that probably also adds a level of vulnerability to their abilities to die. But it's interesting because they also mention in the folklore of like the comic books that they're also discussed as demonic or demons as well as like ghosts. So they kind of goes by multiple variations of that depending on the story. And also a lot of this has been altered from the comic books in terms of Kamala's origins, because to your point when you were mentioning you weren't sure if her powers have changed, in the comic book she's actually an inhuman, and it's just a totally different, her powers come from a mist, and it's just a different origin than what they have now in the series. A lot of the stuff that I saw or read was saying most likely it had to do with the fact that the Inhumans was not a successful series that Disney did. So they're trying to kind of move away from that in order to create a different series and background that they want to utilize. Because as we know, Marvel always has these nuggets they put out there to possibly tie into future projects, right? So this is different than kind of the lineage. She had no relations to the clandestines in the comic books, so all of this stuff is kind of a difference that they made for the sake of the series, but it makes sense to me, like it all, you know, kind of tied in together
very well. And to your point, you mentioned ghosts. I guess in literature they typically manifest as smoke and things like that, like they come as smoke, and then they, you know, can change their forms and stuff like that. So very fascinating stuff. I love a good lore, and you know.
I do too. We love the supernatural. I love even reading supernatural books. There was one I read once where a young lady had a part of a star inside of her, so it was like that was that, and then she was also like part fae, which is fairies and all this other stuff. It was just a lot of supernatural stuff, but it was fascinating. So I'm with you. I would like, if that was a whole series within itself, I'm hooked, I'm down. But Kamala's family, as we move forward, is engrossed in wedding prep for her brother Amir's nuptials. Did you think everyone on their wedding day should be asked 3 times if they accept their partner as their spouse? Because it definitely gives you plenty of opportunity to think it through.
Absolutely. And I didn't appreciate his first answer, first of all. No, I think it's fair. I thought that was fascinating too. I'm like, I appreciate this, you know, aspect of this culture that I didn't know previous, you know.
And that they're sitting down. I was like, yes, please.
They're sitting down, but there was no kissing because of very modesty is key, right? But what I really enjoyed was the inclusion of African American Muslim, because again, I do not have authority, but from my understanding, there can be a separation when it comes to that. And actually, Rami season 2 talks about that. That's where Mahershala character comes into play as well. Anyway, but I loved seeing that inclusion from, I believe her name was it Tasha or
Taisha, I believe.
Taisha.
Yeah. I loved it as well as the dance number and Brown Jovi. That all brought me a lot of joy. So
Yes.
The wedding scene as a whole was a highlight for me of the series.
And one of the things that I noticed about this series as a whole was them humanizing Pakistani and Muslim people. And I say that because America has a history of being really wrong towards these people. And it is just so heartbreaking to see. And so I love how they show like there's the exploration of culture. So yes, they're Muslim, yes, they're Pakistani, but yes, they're from Jersey and they identify as, being Jersey citizens and loving Bon Jovi and Bruce Springsteen and all that stuff. And like we are multifaceted people.
Absolutely. Absolutely. They still put in the nuggets of like, oh, the mosque is being observed by the government and all these things to show that, yeah, I mean, it's a vilification of the culture and of the people that is unwarranted in many respects when there are domestic terrorists that y'all don't want to call terrorists.
I'm like, if you really look at the world's religion, they have one of the largest population. There's no way they're all quote unquote, what Americans have identified
been radicalized and all of that.
It's outrageous. But yeah.
We could spend a few on this. So let's move forward. The clandestines originally approached Kamala as friends, hoping for her help to get them home using the bangle. But once Bruno advised that time and consideration was needed as it might be dangerous, they flipped the switch real quick, Delora, and came after her at Amir's wedding reception, apparently willing to kill everybody.
Yep.
Seeing 4 grown adults coming at her with weapons was intense.
It was. I have to admit that too. Can you imagine being 16 years old? And these are not only adults, these are people who've lived centuries. Okay. So yeah, intimidating doesn't even really describe it.
And she's new to her powers, right?
Yes.
It's not like she's an OG in the superhero game. If this was Spider-Man being chased, I think we could handle it because we'd be like, he got it. He'll be good. But thankfully, she held her own, but it was terrifying when they started throwing weapons at her.
But then they threw freaking Bruno against the wall. I was like, yo, this is a lot.
And I was so happy to be wrong about Cameron because he tried to warn her. He was the only person who was on her side. He went against his own mother because he knew that what they were doing was wrong. So I was happy to be wrong.
When we first met them, definitely eyebrows were raised. And when she offered to give the bangle to Cameron's mother, and she didn't take it, I was like, if she takes it, she's bad. But then when she didn't take it, I was like, I'm still gonna keep my eye on you type of deal. You know what I mean?
I had bad vibes because why is she showing up in your visions? Who are these people really? Like, I think that was one thing. She's still so innocent and wide-eyed and bushy-tailed about it. Most of the time, they're in danger, right? Most of the time, our superheroes are having to dodge villains and crime and the world coming to an end. So it was only a matter of time before she came up against her first foe. And unfortunately for her, it was 4 of them. And they had been around for a while. So DODC showed up and actually helped for once when they apprehended the clandestines before too much damage was done. But as you mentioned, Bruno got injured and Nakia finds out the truth. And Kamala's family was left wondering what the hell was really good.
Yeah, it's a bad look. Like, you pulled the freaking fire alarm?
She did it to save everybody, though. Otherwise, there would have been some casualties. She just could not tell them the truth.
She did annoy me, though, when she was like, I can't. I'm like, and her mom took that as a final answer.
Teenagers. We have had this conversation so many times. Use your words, kids. Use your words.
Woo! Woo!
I would have made something up. Something. You got to give them something. But in episode 4, Kamala and her mom head to Pakistan at the request of her grandmother, who had the shared vision of a train to wrap the last episode. The difference in greeting that Kamala received from her grandmother versus the one that her mom received was glaring.
Yeah.
Her grandmother was so happy to see her. And then when she saw her mother, she was like, your skin is so dry. Are you using one of those, are you on one of those weird diets again?
I wonder if it was like, play up of the mother. You see it a lot with like Asian shows or like Nigerian parents or something like that. Very critical of their children. Yeah.
I think again it's supposed to show that there's this conflict and this tension between Kamala's mother and grandmother. Because again, Sana, the grandmother, did not come to Amir's wedding, even though family friends did the whole 28-hour flight to get there. And she didn't come to her wedding either. So there's a tension.
Yeah,
and
that's
we
a great
and
point.
we can feel it, right?
Yep.
Grandma's house was nice though.
I was like, yo, they got money?
Girl. When she said the house needed a paint job, I said, oh, now we nitpicking. Like,
absolutely. I was like, I didn't see it. And I got a critical eye, okay?
These grounds are lovely. I was like, is this another Crazy Rich Asian situation? Like, what is going on? Loved her house. But she also confirmed details on genetics and family history, and was actually gifted at drawing as well, which I had mentioned was something that we find out early on that Kamala is really good at. Her grandmother knew that Kamala needed to come to Pakistan to figure out her purpose with the bangle. Do you think it was smart for her to venture out on her own to the train station?
Absolutely not.
She was just getting chased and people was trying to kill her.
These century-old people were chasing her. I'm pretty sure they have access to airplanes and passports as well. So it's like, who knows if they had a network there? It was giving me James Bond. You know what I mean?
It was like, the ones you met may be locked up somewhere, but you in a whole nother country. You have no idea how deep these roots go. I'm gonna need you to have a little bit more not fear, but you know what I mean? Like,
she's
caution.
16 years old.
Fearless out here. And she has powers as well, right? So, I mean, I guess she can hold her own, but she does get attacked pretty quickly when a mysterious and sarcastic new boy, Kareem, shows up throwing knives at her, thinking she was a member of the clandestine.
Yep.
Takes her to meet his crew, the Red Daggers, whose purpose is to protect their people from threats of the unseen.
I want to put this on the mic in the universe. I want to go to a speakeasy. I want to go to somewhere that looks like a laundromat or a kitchen, and you press a button and you go to some gorgeous, fabulous place.
Well, I'm glad you said that, because if you make it to Orlando, there's a speakeasy that I will take you to.
Yay!
Called Mathers. Orlando people, y'all know what I'm talking about. Downtown.
Okay, I need to go. I need to experience this in my life. Thank you.
I got you. She finds out from the Red Daggers, if the clandestines lift the veil to their world, it will destroy ours. Dum dum dum.
I was gonna say, shout out to Bruno, who said, you need the power to harness the sun. If you have something that powerful, bye-bye to everything you know.
Bruno ain't no dummy.
No,
Bruno
not at all.
Ain't no dummy out here. He definitely was spot on in his concerns. Unfortunately, the clandestine escaped DLDC Supermax prison. Supermax, guys. Supermax prison. Leaving Cameron behind, though, because his mama was stone cold. She said, you done made your choice and you chose to go against the family.
Talking about old school.
Your only child, who is 17 years old. Deadly. Cutthroat.
Yep.
They ambush Kamala and the Red Daggers. I put in my notes, they got their asses to Pakistan quick, didn't they?
That is what I'm saying. These are evil people who have resources and are driven. Okay, they've been looking and wandering on this earth for a very long time to get home.
Which at this point, as hard as they're going, I'm like, what were y'all exiled for? And I haven't found an answer on these internets.
Because they apparently didn't want you.
I think it's because they are villains, like they've done bad things. That's why they were exiled. But if that's the case, why are you fighting so hard to get back? Won't they just kick y'all back out?
It wouldn't be a warm welcoming or anything like that. Yeah.
Y'all willing to put your lives on the line, put everybody else's lives on the line. Y'all better be trying to get to heaven. Like, that's how I was feeling at this point. Y'all are doing the most. Fighting ensues, obvi, with casualties, unfortunately, on both sides. Najma gets fed up and stabs the bangle on Kamala's wrist, trying to get it off of her, essentially, which transports Kamala back to the train station in Karachi, Pakistan during the partition. So let's talk.
That was a powerful scene in itself.
Was so good because I had no idea what was about to happen.
Exactly.
No idea we're about to go back in time. You know what I mean? Let's talk episodes 5 and 6. We finally learn the rest of the story and fate of Aisha. When she got separated from the other clandestines in 1942, as India is fighting for independence from British rule, she fell in love with a villager named Hassan, had her daughter, Kamala's grandmother, Sana. Najma tracks her ass down a few years later, and obviously Aisha's priorities had changed.
Yep.
She wants to stay. She has a family. So she's like, we got to get up out of here. We got to get up out of here, obviously, because of the partition, but also to get away from the clandestines. Najma stabs her at the train station, but before Aisha dies, she's able to forge the inscription on the bangle, "What you seek is seeking you." That transcription and power is what sent Kamala back in time, and she actually gets to talk to Aisha before she passes. Delora, would this have been traumatic to be sent back in time just to be there in the moment that your great grandmother dies?
Absolutely, but I had a sneaky suspicion that Kamala had something to do with that story, just because it was brought up multiple times on how her grandmother was lost from her father, but magically made her way back to him, courtesy of some stars. I was like, I have a feeling she plays a part. And so when we got this confirmation, I thought it was traumatic, but I also thought it provided the necessary closure for the family, for especially this magical world that they live in. You know what I mean? It literally is full circle.
It really was.
And the fact that, again, it's also touching because the grandmother, understood and surrounded herself of memories of her childhood and things like that. And she didn't even have a picture of her mom. And the fact that
besides Kamala, the one she drew from memory.
Exactly, which was impeccable, by the way. But the fact that, again, Kamala got a chance to see what actually happened to her great grandmother, got that picture, got her grandmother to the father. Everything was just so beautifully well done.
I definitely think she should have been able to have a minute to just pull herself together after witnessing this woman's death in front of her. But to your point, I get the necessity of it, and I do love the fact that she was able to realize the pivotal role she played in her family's history, because to your point, she is the one who saves her grandmother Sana and gets her on the train and back to her father by using her powers to move her through the crowd. Because guys, in the show, partition is chaotic because people are trying to flee. So the train station,
and this is the last train,
and this is the last train of the night. So you can't even really move through the crowd. So imagine a small child obviously getting lost. So she's
anxiety was extremely high because people don't care about children. I'm surprised she didn't get knocked over. Goodness gracious.
She's able to use her power to get her back over to Pops. So it was definitely a beautiful moment. And to be able to like save your grandma would have made me feel really good as well. That was beautiful.
Absolutely.
Do you
Can we
think
talk about how good looking all these men were in this? I thought the grandpa was cute. All these boys are cute.
I'm all about Amir, because not only is he cute, but he's funny. Like, he's
Amir, the brother. Yes,
he is my type of guy. Like,
yes.
he even cracked me up when she was trying to convince him that Kamran was their cousin. He was like, "Our cousin, as in you and I's cousin?" Like,
And my final, and I'm sorry to skip ahead, but he was like, "Does he even like the British Bake Off?"
I know. His level of concern for the details. Her brother is definitely my vibe, so I agree with you. But I have to ask a question about Aisha. Now that we know what happened to her, do you think that it was right that she prioritized her family over the other clandestines in this mission that they had been on to try and return home? Why didn't she just give the bangle to Najma?
It was very selfish. I mean, that's the bottom line. And she knew very well if she gave the bangle over, that life, that family she built will be over. So I don't think she's right, but for the sake of this story, her actions led to us in the existence of Kamala, right? So
It also
it's tough.
saved the world, because
That too. Yes.
they didn't say whether Aisha was fully aware of what would have happened, but maybe she did. Maybe she had like done further research or looked more into it and realized, if we use this, it will be a catastrophe for the world as it exists. So I almost wish they had thrown that nugget in there, just so we knew that she knew better.
Yeah.
And that's why she didn't want to give it to Najma. But Najma also, her approach to everything was always so severe. So it almost made me wonder.
A machete.
Yeah, it almost made me wonder, like, what relationship did y'all have in the other dimension? Like, does she know like how you handle things? And that's why she was like, "Nah, bruh, I'll give it to anybody but you, honestly, because you're not the one who needs to have this power."
When she said, "Oh, I hid it for safekeeping, it'll take me time," she was like, "Have it here tomorrow, thanks."
You have by tomorrow night, sundown, okay? Or I'm coming for you and everybody you love. Like, that's how Najma, that's how I took every statement she said. She was a killer. When Kamala returns to the present, the veil to their dimension is open, but with deadly consequences. Those who tried to enter were killed immediately. Najma, shockingly, sacrifices herself to close it and save Kamran, and it sent a surge of Noor power into Kamran. One thing I couldn't establish, though, was, did this unlock the power that was already within him, or did this place her power into him?
Yeah, I took it as the latter, like all of her power into him, because he had no idea how to manage it, not even a little bit of it, you know what I mean? So that's how I took it.
Kamala's mother finally learns the truth about her powers and the family lineage thanks to the use of Find My Phone to track her down, and she actually takes it much better than expected. Seeing her finally understand and therefore appreciate her own mother, who she thought was just making up stories all these years, just kind of helped to rectify that relationship, and then therefore strengthen her relationship with Kamala and all of that. I really liked seeing that resolution to like the family dynamics. Back in Jersey, Kamran sought out Bruno, aka Brian, because he could never seem to get that man's name right.
Was that intentional?
He said not. He said not, but they definitely had a little rivalry going.
Yep.
He sought Bruno out for help with evading DODC while his powers, to your point, surge out of control. Kamala's big reveal to the rest of the family was rather comical, because everybody had already found out prior to her being able to get home and spill the beans. And her mom was suddenly so on board, she even got her a new suit, which I loved. I loved the new costume. I thought it was beautiful.
It fit her well.
It did. To get Kamran out of town and escape DODC, the gang, including Zoe and Amir, hatch a plan to distract them at the high school. The power of social media was the real MVP, though, and Zoe's following created a crowd needed to witness DODC attacking these kids. Because, Delora, they were straight up shooting at Kamran and Kamala.
Like that meme say, F them kids. They did not care.
I mean, when the head lady in charge was straight up just shooting straight at him, I'm like, this is another level. Like, where's Samuel L. Jackson when you need him?
It was reckless.
Kamala helps Kamran escape, and the community forms a shield around her so that she could do the same. That head DODC agent I mentioned was thankfully relieved of her duties because she had gone rogue. They had told her to stand down.
She always plays the bad guy. She was like from Orange is the New Black. You remember?
She has a face for it. There's some people who they fit those roles to a
very well. Yeah.
I honestly, at this point, though, would have loved to see a confrontation between that head agent and Kamala's mom.
I know, right? That's a good point. Yeah.
You shot at my daughter. I would have been ready for that confrontation. A couple of final gems to end this season. Kamala's name means marvel in Urdu, per her dad. So we finally, at the end of the season, get her name, Avi, the title of the series, Miss Marvel.
I literally started crying because it was so beautifully well done. Like, her dad is such a great character. The actor does a great job providing like that warmth and, fatherly figure. And just for him to tell her, like, you were so perfect and we were so happy to have you. You were like a marvel. And I'm like, oh.
There are some great dads out there in the Disney universe. Even the dad from Turning Red.
Oh yeah.
I love.
Yeah. But yeah, I didn't expect to be boohooing, but I was like, oh, whoever did this setup did a great job. Bravo.
It was a beautiful moment. And then another final gem is she has a mutation in her genes per Bruno. That is a huge reveal for all the Marvel fans out there. Cue the X-Men theme music, right?
Absolutely.
This is our first mutant confirmation in the Marvel universe. Yes, X-Men's coming, okay? X-Men is coming. I've personally been ready for a long time.
Been ready.
The post-credit scene, Delora, Carol Danvers pops up in her room having seemingly swapped places with Kamala, obviously pitching to the fact that Kamala will join Carol Danvers, aka Captain Marvel, in the next film, The Marvels.
Yes. How many Marvels are there? I'm not that familiar.
I don't know either, but I'm excited to see and learn more because I always do, regardless of whether I think I know some of the backstory, because Marvel changes things. Marvel does as they need to keep these stories going.
There's so many iterations of some of these stories too. They pick and choose what comics, they want.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep. So give me your final thoughts as we wrap this first season of Miss Marvel, and how excited are you now for the next projects that Marvel's going to be putting out now that we have these new revelations and this new character to explore?
Ooh, I appreciate you asking me how excited I am. I'm not going to lie. I am cautiously optimistic. I guess I should say that, because even with their shows, I think this is the fifth or sixth one, is definitely in the top 3 for me. Let's see. Sure.
WandaVision,
Loki,
Hawkeye,
or Falcon and Winter Soldier, Moon Knight,
and now this. So yeah, this would be 6, right?
Yeah. It's just interesting. I guess I'm just curious, and I hate to say it, but Captain Marvel was just okay for me. So I'm interested to see how the Marvels is going to be, you know. But overall, I thoroughly enjoyed the series. It made me laugh. Apparently, it made me cry. I love a good flashback. Episode 5 was my absolute favorite episode. Everyone just did an amazing job. Everyone was beautiful and talented. It was just a good time.
I loved this series. I got a little distracted my first watch as we kind of wrapped. And so to go back and kind of get all of the details and really dive into, like I said, this culture and history, I'm super excited to see what they're going to do next with her character. And it definitely makes me more excited now for another Captain Marvel feature. Because to your point, Captain Marvel is not one of my favorites. I thought Brie Larson did a great job with the character, but I think
Yes,
I got disappointed by the level of inaction I felt like she had in Endgame, and the fact that Iron Man had to take that death that I felt like she could have taken and survived. I don't know if I'll ever get over, honestly.
Interesting.
So I am more excited now. And again, we both enjoy Marvel. We love Marvel. Marvel rarely disappoints me. So I think this is going to be fun. I think it's going to be fun. And they're both, Captain Marvel and Miss Marvel, are very sarcastic and very like witty. So I'm excited to see them interact and have that banter, because we already got to see a glimpse of an older and a younger with Hawkeye, and I like their dynamic. So I think I'm gonna love these two's dynamics. So I'm ready. Let's see what you got, Marvel. But guys, that is it for our recap of Miss Marvel. Thank you so much for sticking with us. We hope you enjoyed it. And Marvel heads out there, feel free to leave us some comments, leave us some feedback, give us some gems. And let's move on to hidden gems this week. Delora, what you got?
Yes, Ashley, I have 2 this week. So the first is the return of the Umbrella Academy on Netflix, season 3. So this is such a fun, wacky show that it's very hard to predict what will happen next, because again, it is a fun, wild ride. I absolutely love number 5. He is my absolute favorite.
Flat out.
Gracious.
Flat out.
And Clues. Honestly, I love them so much. I can't tell you which one I love more, because Clues, that actor, Robert, bravo, sir. He plays that role so well. Season 3, we're back. They saved the universe twice before, and they're in an alternate universe where they don't exist. So, you know, it's fun to see them navigate this, and if they're all going to make it and all that. Mm-hmm. It was a lot of fun. They have a competing house, the Sparrows. That was fun and new this season.
The Sparrows were badass too.
They were, but I hate that the black guy was only in episode 1. Like, I'm not gonna say that would be a little bit of a spoiler. But anyway, shout out to Justin Cornwell, who was from our throwback recap of
Jingle Jangle.
Jingle Jangle, yes.
He sure was in Jingle Jangle.
He sure was.
Cute.
So a lot of fun. And Stan, who is the young man from Euphoria, was in this season too. So that was a fun surprise. So highly recommend this season. I have to say, I think my favorite season so far is season 2. Season 1, because it's an introduction of the world, but season 2 was really, really good. And season 3, it's a fun continuation of the story.
Yeah, there's just one scene that gives me chills that I can't stop thinking about. So once I can get over that, I'll enjoy it more.
You gotta tell me off mic what that is, because I'm curious.
Yeah.
All right. So my second hidden gem is probably hidden to some people, maybe not all, but audiobooks. So specifically utilizing the Libby app. This is an app that I have through my local library, because yes, I am a patron of libraries. I think they're very important. And I got my card and everything. And so this is the one that my local library uses, but sometimes life comes at you fast and you still need to get a book in. And I have been pretty much binging books since my birthday. Like, specifically, I got a chance to get through Bridgerton book 1 and 2 because I was very curious on how the show is compared to the books. They are very different, but they are very true to the essence of the story. So that's fun. That's a fun fact. And I also reread The Wedding Date by Jasmine Guillory because, again, I'm apparently on my romance novel kick, and the lady who reads her books have such a soothing voice. I say that because getting through the Bridgerton books, the lady does a very posh British accent for like the men and the ladies, and it can be kind of, it's just interesting, you know what I mean? But then the lady who reads Jasmine Guillory books, her voice is like butter. It's a Black woman who reads it. It's very calming. It's just, it really helps with you know, relaxing after a long day of work. So highly recommend audiobooks. And if you don't want to pay for it, go to your library, figure out what their app is, and sign up. I got 3 more books on my list now. So that's all I have today, Ashley. How about you?
Thank you. Mine are 3 this week. I have my first one. If you've been on Netflix, you have definitely probably seen this. And if you are like me and Delora, you click play. Okay. And that is How to Build a Sex Room. Loved this 8-episode series. Designer Melanie Rose was delightful. Okay. I love the variety and the clientele and the requests. It was basically the raunchy HGTV I never knew that I needed. I am now plotting on a sex room and my vision for what that would look like in a future house because I
Wowzer.
never thought that I would consider that outside of the pages of 50 Shades of Grey, but she
Exactly.
really turned my whole spirit
But
about what a sex room can do for you.
I'm pretty sure sex rooms probably exponentially rose after 50
Oh,
Shades.
absolutely. And I bet designers are like, what is happening? What is happening? What is happening? You want a what? Yeah, it was a great series, guys. If you have not checked it out, definitely check it out and send me some thoughts because I would love to hear what you guys think about that one. My second hidden gem, a young lady named Chidi Ashley on YouTube. Discovered her through a post on blackamericaweb.com because I've been looking into trips to the Maldives and she had recommendations on one particular stay she did, which way out of my price range, but beautiful. And I went in deep. I watched her videos discussing her build of her dream home in Bali. I have to catch her video now that she's moved to Dubai. She's a successful, beautiful, young Black woman entrepreneur, just out here living her best life. She owns 2 businesses, one of them being a travel company. And I just love to see it. Like, I'm living vicariously right now. I think she has such great energy. Her house was magnificent.
Wow.
And I'm just excited to follow her journey. So that is Chidi Ashley on YouTube, guys. Check her out. And my final is just a quick little fan's guide to Mrs. Marvel that's on Disney Plus. It was about 5 minutes. It just was cute, talking with Iman, talking about again her love of Miss Marvel because she was such a super fan and really manifested this opportunity for herself. So I watched multiple
Love
interviews she did
that.
with Trevor
I saw the
Noah,
one with Trevor Noah. Yeah.
with multiple people, Kelly Clarkson, a lot of
Mhm.
people. So I mean, she's spoken about her story and all of that, but the 5 minutes of a fan's guide to Mrs. Marvel kind of puts it a little bit more into context as well. So check that out, guys. And that's it. So Delora, I love you so much. Thank you for another great episode.
I love you too, Ashley. This was so much fun, and I'm glad we're back. I know we said that last week, but I like to confirm.
Absolutely. It feels good to be back on the mic and chatting it up for sure. And we will be back on Thursday, guys, as usual, with some headlines and hot topics, talking some ish. So we look forward to talking to you then.
Bye.